Hello there, Homeschool Nolan here to help you navigate learning in the digital age. In a previous video, I talked about how it seems so much harder now to get into college, at least compared to when I was a kid. But fortunately, students today have a lot more resources to help them. And one of these resources is the College Consultant. And today, as a parent whose kids will be applying to college in the near future, I'd like to explore the question, should I hire a college consultant to help my kid get into college? Now, every student's situation is of course unique, and the decision to hire a consultant is a personal one. So I'm not going to try to provide a definitive yes or no answer for everyone. What I would like to do in this video is share how I approach some of the different challenges that college consultants aim to address and compare that to the situation that most students face today. Obviously, the world has changed since I was at college way back in the 90s. But hopefully, sharing some of my experiences and comparing it to today may help you decide if hiring a consultant is the right choice for you. But first, what is a college consultant? The typical college consultant helps high school students plan, prepare, and journey through the college admissions process. They take on the role of both coach and advisor, and they typically can cost anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000. What kind of consulting services do you get from them? Every consultant is a little different, but almost all of them offer 3 core services for the college-bound high school student. First, they help students choose courses. Secondly, they help students with their college essays. And thirdly, they help students choose which colleges to apply to. Now, before deciding if I would hire one myself for my own children, my natural instinct is to first look back on my own experiences and review how I approached these 3 challenges. And I'd like to now share some of those experiences with you. First, let's start with choosing courses. When I was in high school, it was pretty obvious to me that if I wanted to get into a top university, then I not only had to get good grades, but I also had to have challenging courses like AP Calculus and English Honors on my transcript. Hence, I tried to take all the advanced classes that I could. I even took both chemistry and physics my sophomore year, which I remember impressed a couple of my teachers. College admission officers want to see students who can handle difficult, challenging courses because it shows that they are better prepared for college-level classes. I think where some students may need guidance today, though, is that when they wonder if they should risk taking on more challenging and difficult courses if it means they might get a B and lower their GPA. And that's where a good college consultant might be able to help. A good consultant can help you weigh the benefits of taking on more challenging courses versus the risk of lowering your GPA. But in all honesty, if your goal is to get into a top university, school like Harvard, Princeton, Yale, Stanford, MIT, you really do need to have both a high GPA as well as the most challenging AP and honors courses on your transcript. College admissions officers can easily spot a student who took the easier path, and that can probably look just as bad as getting a B. If you can't get an A in AP Physics in high school, then you probably won't make it at schools like MIT or UC Berkeley. The second thing college consultants help students with is in writing the college application essay. When I was in high school, as a senior, writing my own college application essays, it never occurred to me that I should get someone to help me write it. I assumed that the purpose of the essay was to demonstrate how well I can write and also show how creative and interesting I am so that the admissions committee can get to know me better as an individual. Back in our day, we also had to write separate essays for each school we applied to. We didn't have the common application where you could write just one essay and use it to apply to multiple schools. That said, if my kids need help writing their college essays, I will be more than happy to help. But if writing is not your strength, then you should probably consider hiring a consultant. Keep in mind, though, that the more involved someone else is in writing your essay, the less your essay truly represents you and your own unique work. And, as with course selection, if you have trouble writing a good essay on your own, then you're probably going to have trouble surviving at places like Princeton, where you will be expected to write well and write a lot. The third area where college consultants can help you with is in choosing which colleges to apply to. There are currently over 5,000 colleges and universities all across the United States. Now, if you're not familiar with any of them, then a consultant can probably help you navigate through all those choices and help select the right ones for you to apply to. Chances are, though, that you probably already have some colleges in mind based on your goals and where you live. As for me, I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I was pretty certain in high school that I wanted to major in engineering. So naturally, I applied to UC Berkeley, which has always been a great engineering school. But Berkeley was hard to get into back then too, so I also applied to UC Davis and UCLA as my backups. I don't think either of those schools were as hard to get into back then as they are today. But the most prestigious school in the Bay Area was and still is, of course, Stanford. Every ambitious student in the Bay Area applied to Stanford, so naturally, I applied to Stanford too. I also decided to apply to MIT. Now, growing up in California, MIT wasn't as famous to me as Caltech. But during my junior year of high school, I was invited to attend an open house for MIT. I went to the open house, and I remember being impressed with a charming recruiter. The two things I remember him saying were, first, we're not impressed with recommendations from the governor, and we're also looking for, quote, interesting people. In other words, he made MIT sound attainable for me. And by the way, that's another thing to keep in mind. Every college, no matter how hard they are to get into, will always try to encourage you to apply, no matter how little chance you actually have. They want to maximize the number of applicants they receive so they can minimize their acceptance rate and appear more selective and prestigious. But anyway, the MIT event did work on me, so I decided to apply to MIT. But the school I ended up attending was Princeton. Now, Princeton wasn't even on my radar until the summer before my senior year, when I happened to attend a junior statesman summer school in Washington, D.C. A buddy of mine there said he planned on applying to Princeton. I, of course, had heard of Princeton and knew it was a good school, and I thought it'd be kind of cool if maybe we could be classmates in college. So that's why I decided to apply to Princeton as well. Now, even though I applied to Princeton, I didn't apply to any of the other Ivy League schools. I figured that if I could get into Princeton, that would be good enough for me. If I didn't get into Princeton, then I assumed I probably wouldn't get into Harvard either, and none of the other Ivy League schools appealed to me as much as California schools. And remember, we didn't have the common application back then, so nobody applied to a school unless they were serious about wanting to attend. Now, there is one more university I applied to, and that was the University of Michigan. I applied to Michigan because I was interested at the time in majoring in aerospace engineering, and Michigan had a reputation for being a top school in that field. I didn't have Google or a consultant to help me back then, but somehow I was able to do some research and find out on my own which were the best schools for aerospace engineering. On top of all this, I also do remember getting a lot of brochures in the mail for liberal arts colleges that I had never heard of. Since I didn't know anybody who had gone to any of these schools, I simply tossed them away. So that's how I chose the 7 schools I applied to when I was a high school senior. And that's also how I approached choosing courses and writing my own college application essays. But of course, things have changed since I was a student. Today, one noticeable change is that getting into college seems more competitive, and the standards and the criteria for getting into many of these schools has become more opaque or less transparent. If you're in high school, you've probably heard of anecdotal stories of students who had very similar credentials, but one got into a school and the other didn't, and it's not clear why. A good college consultant who knows the ins and outs of a particular school's admissions process may be able to help guide you through this ambiguity. In addition, the fact that your peers may be using consultants today may add some pressure on you to use one yourself if you don't want to fall behind the competition. Getting into college is so competitive now that you may feel that you need every edge that you can get. But then again, some things haven't changed. Parents and students alike still continue to see the value of a college education. And I hope my experiences from the past can help you a little bit as you compare it to your situation today and as you plan your own journey. Applying to college can be a stressful process, and I wish you well if you're a parent or a student who is on this journey. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.